What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're doing well today. Today I'm going to be bringing you my full review of the Civivi Elementum 2 button lock. What we'll be doing today is going through the knife specs, some size comparisons for reference, and we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. So let's go ahead and run through the specs. The Elementum 2 button lock has a 2.96 inch Nitro V steel, nice upgrade. We'll dive back into that in just a minute. 4.11 inch handles, you can get G10 or micarta currently. Overall length 7.06 inches. And claim weight is 3.46 ounces with a claimed 59 to 61 Rockwell treatment on the Nitro V. Let's check the weight real quick. So weight coming in at 3.1 ounces. So a little bit lighter than the claimed 3.46 from the website that I checked. Can't remember which website I checked for that. Hopefully it wasn't Blade HQ again, because they always seem to have some type of number wrong one way or the other. Let's go ahead and run through some size comparisons. First, we're going to bring out the Demco AD 20.5, which is going to be a little bit bigger, and then we'll bring out the Spyderco Shaman, which is going to clearly be much bigger. So as you can see, being that it's a sub 3-inch knife and just around that 7-inch mark, it is going to be smaller than the Demco. And then we'll go ahead and bring out the Benchmade Bug Out, which is going to be another size comparison that I think is going to help folks really well. As you can see, still smaller. Here it is against the SIG K320 by Hogue, made by Hogue. Again, hopefully you're getting a really good reference here as to the size of this knife. We'll go ahead and bring out another Civivi. We'll bring out the Praxis, move the bug out of the way, and then we'll bring out the Vostede Raccoon. And as you can see, the Raccoon is going to be a little bit larger. Now I'm also going to do some thickness profile comparisons for you, so you can see how thick the knife is, how it'll feel carry in pocket, and how it's going to feel in hand from the girth as well. As you can see, a little bit thicker than the Raccoon. We'll go ahead and grab the Bug Out, and the Bug Out you can see is going to be much thinner. And then we'll go ahead and bring out the Shaman. And as you can see, this is just as thick as the Shaman. So hopefully that helps you from a thickness perspective. Really interesting knife. So ergonomically, it really does remind me of the Elementum, but you can feel a difference in the thickness on the knife. You can feel that it's much more chunky, and I think that's because they had to thicken up the scales in order to make clearance for the spring and the plunge lock that's on here. They have updated the pocket clip here, and I've noticed that actually does feel pretty comfortable in hand. It still does swoop down and up, but it seems like the clearances are a little bit tighter to the scale, so I do appreciate that. It is just a 4-finger knife for me. Well, 3.5, 3.25? 3.25 knife for me until you choke up. Once you choke up on that flipper tab, and for an EDC, I would say, like for the push cuts and everything, this is a little pokey for me. But when I'm actually just putting it on the knuckle to get into packages and pull through the tape and things like that, it works pretty good, and it does allow me to move up on the knife. But as far as the push cuts, I would say that the best position for me is actually just going to be to get it into that first finger a little bit, so I can squeeze my 4th finger on, and then just use the belly of the knife to get those push cuts through on the cardboard or whatever it is that you need to use it on. So very comfortable. I like the additional chunkiness of the knife. It does help. They did mill out the steel liners here on both sides, which is one of the advantages of the plunge lock, so that they could actually reduce the weight and keep that weight down. Now really quick, I'm going to grab my binder here so that you guys can see. No problems whatsoever, and we'll even just 2 little quick. So no issues whatsoever with the tension or the spring on that lock. Really solid. I tested it before we got to this video, and it was really nice. Hollow grind on here is nice and thin. It is super slicey. I have the piece of paper I had out here earlier for a different review, and this thing just slices through paper, no issues whatsoever. And I did break down like a small knife box with the cardboard, with the knife, to get a sense of how it would cut through the cardboard, and it did really well. The action on it is really good. It does have just a hint of play out of the box for me, or it did have just a hint of play out of the box for me. So I did tighten that up a little bit, and I had to kind of keep playing with it. And I got it exactly where I wanted, and the pivot backed out. So I had to remove the pivot and throw a little Loctite in there and leave it for a couple of days. And it has remained locked up solid, and it has really smooth action. It is like right in that sweet spot of where you can still move it around a little bit, but it has just enough tension on the spring here and on the bearings to where it's snug with no play at the pivot, and still smooth enough to where you don't feel the bearings when you go to flip it or when you go to release it. So when your fingers here and it's riding against the plunge lock, you don't feel the bearings spinning on it, which I really do appreciate. Comfortable knife. Great little EDC. I think at $65 to get yourself a button lock that is not going to fail, and you're upgrading from D2 to Nitro V, which is a steel that is really tough, corrosive resistant, holds a good edge, really good ease of sharpening. It's a great knife and a great value. A little small, but I do like this. Now, what is it reminding me of? Because I kept thinking, what is this reminding me of that I already have? It reminds me a lot of the Civivi Altus as far as the size, the way that the button lock works, the action on the button lock, the chunkiness of the knife. You do have a thinner grind overall on the Altus, but the Altus is a flat grind, and you're getting a hollow grind on the Elementum 2 button lock, which I think is really good. Also, I think ergonomically it's a little bit more neutral, so even though you don't have the flipper tab to deal with, and it's a little bit easier to get 4 fingers on here when you're using that cutout versus trying to go behind the flipper tab, you have a little less room. You got more height on the Elementum's handle, so it does kind of offset it a little bit back here, so you do still get something to grip onto, whereas this feels more thin in hand. And then I think the blade profile is a little bit more friendly for the push cuts. You don't get quite as much flat cutting surface as you do on the Elementum 2 from this. Both have Nitro V steel though. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, and I can't even remember what side it's on. Why can't you see? Oh, there it is. Let me get the lighting. Nitro V steel there, and then you can see, oh, I don't want to focus the Nitro V. If I hit the lighting, there you go, right there. And I had these scales made. They're not readily available anywhere. Jay Dizzle on Instagram did a fantastic job with these scales, and has me thinking about, because I was thinking, oh, I'll Rit dye these blue, but I don't know. And honestly, will this replace the Altus in my lineup? I'm hoping I can get this broken in the disassembly, because the action on this one, no side to side, is a little bit better, but I want to use thumb studs. I also think part of that is because I haven't broken this in yet, and I don't think, yeah, I'm still riding the factory bearings on here. That's just how good this one was tuned. Gosh, I can't really get it to show up for you guys. Trying to hit the lighting on it, because you can always tell the factory bearings are more shiny than the Rocket Glide skiffs. They're like a darker bronze. But overall, I mean, for $65, and I'll link the Amazon link down below because it was still in stock at Amazon, this is a really interesting knife. Really good detent on it. You can still use it like the Elementum button lock, the button lock Elementum. I'm going to get these names all mixed up. You can use it like the button lock Elementum, where you can flip it like that, but it has that other deployment means that I think everybody really wanted that knife to be. Now, I still like the button lock Elementum better because it has more handle. It's more slender. It doesn't have the spoon out shape here, and it has a longer blade, 3.5 inch instead of sub 3 inch. But for EDC, something that you just want on you to cut things, get into your packages, string, zip ties, whatever, just something quick and easy to get in and out of the pocket that you don't want to be too heavy, this is a pretty interesting little knife. The alternative, again, is if you don't like the flipper tab, I know I just had that out here, is going to be the Altus, which comes also with Nitro V and G10, but I think it's a little bit more expensive than the Elementum 2. I want to say these are closer to 70 than this one, but I'll put all of that up on the screen for you. But it is well made. The button lock works properly. It did not fail, and it's comfortable, and it has the hollow grind. I think that gives this one a little bit of an edge in my mind for a slicier knife versus the flat grind that you found on the Altus. Anyway, my thoughts are, for $65, this is good value. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. If you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing. Special thanks to everyone out there that is already subscribed and has the notification turned on, leaving the likes in the comments. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a fantastic week, and until next time, peace.